Holly Winter pressed the brake pedal of her rental car and took a deep breath, staring at the writing in front of her. The sign was faded, as though somebody had forgotten to paint it this year, and there was a thick wedge of snow laying across the top like a sleeping cat. In the distance, she could see the twinkling lights of the town as it nestled around the mountain. Opening the window, the cold air rushed around her face. The air in the Allegheny Mountains was so different to the atmosphere she'd become used to in Chicago. It wasn't just that it was thinner, thanks to the elevation of the town, but because it smelled sweeter. Like home. Or as near to home as she'd ever been. There wasn't another car on the road. She hadn't passed one for the last hour since she'd begun her slow ascent from the interstate. No SUVs full of families, excited to spend the weekend at America's favorite holiday town. No buses full of day trippers, traveling to soak up the festivities at the Jingle Bell Theater. Instead, there was silence, and the rumble of her engine, deadened by the layer of thick snow. She pressed her foot down on the gas, and the Jeep's tires gripped the roads, thankfully clear of snow despite the lack of travelers. That would be thanks to Charlie Shaw, who ran the Cold Start garage in the center of town. For the past 40 years, he'd taken his snowplow out whenever Winterville had a hint of snowfall. It was the first time Holly'd been back to town since her grandma's passing earlier that year. It wasn't just that she'd been busy at work, though Lord knew that was true. But she'd found herself finding stupid excuses not to come. Winterville without her grandma was hard to imagine. Her grandma had been the heart of the town. She'd been the one who built it, after all. Her phone started ringing through the car speakers, and she hit the accept button, braking sharply as a white snowshoe hare bounded across the road. "Damn it!" she called out, and a low chuckle echoed back at her.
"Holly?"
North. As her eldest cousin, North was the leader of their generation of Winters. "I nearly hit a damn hare."
"You've made it into the mountains, then."
His voice was warm and low. "I just passed the town sign."
"You're close."
He sounded pleased.
"Are you heading straight to the inn?"
The Winterville Inn was the heart and soul of the small town. It had been built and owned by their grandma for more than 50 years. Growing up, it had been like a magnet for the Winter cousins. Holly had spent many holidays there with North and his brothers, Chris and Gabe, and her girl cousins, Everly and Alaska. A smile pulled at her lips as she remembered their epic snow fights. "Yeah, I'm beat. I'm going to check in and veg out for a while. Are you at the farm?" North owned the Christmas tree farm at the other end of town. Along with his co-owner, Amber, he lived in a sprawling set of lodges alongside the farm. Some of the buildings belonged to his brothers, though right now they were living elsewhere.
"Yeah, it's been crazy this week. But you, Everly, and Alaska should come over for lunch on Sunday. Gabe has promised to cook, which I'm hoping won't put you off."
He chuckled, and it made her smile. Gabe was known for burning water. She kept her fingers crossed that he'd keep it simple. "Lunch on Sunday sounds good." She nodded. She passed the Jingle Bell Theater, where her grandma had starred every year, pulling in fans from far and wide for her holiday shows. Now it looked empty and alone. Holly pulled her eyes away and concentrated on the road ahead.
"We can work on our plans then."
Their plans to stop the town from being sold. Not that Winterville was strictly a town. It was an unincorporated settlement, according to the legal description. The land had been bought by their grandma, the famous singer and actress Candy Winter, after she'd taken the world by surprise when she'd retired at the peak of her fame, and brought her family back to the wild mountains where she'd grown up. "Our plans?" Holly echoed, knowing exactly what he meant. And she hoped to God he did have a plan, because she'd come up with nothing. Their parents, her mom and 2 uncles, had inherited the town and wanted nothing to do with it.